Hey friends, it's Sarah from SJ Florals. Today I'm going to show you this cute and easy Valentine's Day card tutorial. So for this tutorial, all you need is some watercolor paper, some watercolors, pencil, eraser, paintbrushes, and a gel pen. Oh, and a fine liner. I forgot to include that at this part. First up, let's fold that watercolor paper in half. I'll give exact dimensions I used down below. I'm not quite sure off the top of my head. So I fold it in half. I'm not very good at folding in half, so I cut off the edge to make it nice and straight. First up, draw your love heart as the base for the watercolor. Here you can see I'm not very good at drawing love hearts, and it takes me quite a few shots to actually draw it. Once I finally get it the way I want it, I go back and lightly erase the heart, because once you put watercolor on top of pencil, you can't actually go back in and erase it. So you want there to just be enough of the pencil for a guide for you to actually be able to paint. Here I am sticking a teeny bit of washi to just hold it in place, because I was noticing that the card kept opening whilst I was going, so I wanted the card nice and stationary. So the brand of the watercolors I've used here is Paint Wild. I love their watercolors. They're so highly pigmented. And extra fun fact, Emma is Australian, so I always love to support other Australians. Anyhow, so the colors I'm using here are primary red mostly, and a bit of strawberry, and then also later on I'll go back and add in some Midas, which is like the best gold watercolor paint I've used. Again, I'll put full details below. So all I go in and do is use a lot of water and a little bit of pigment, and at this stage it's just about getting the color in to the love heart and also keeping it quite wet. So I keep adding quite a bit of water in between, and then a little bit of pigment and a lot of water. So I want to get that base heart down first, and then I'll go back in and add more color. And now you can see I'm darkening up the edges, and I just keep adding more water as well to help to allow the color to bleed and mix together. You can see I'll add a color and then I add a bit of water, and it's just going back and forward between the color and the water to give it that nice bleedy watercolory effect, I guess, if that's a word. Now you can see I've really darkened up the heart quite a bit. Something to note with watercolors, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but watercolors dry quite a bit lighter than how dark it is when it's wet. So if you think it's too dark, it probably isn't quite as bad as you think. If you think it's too light, it's definitely too light. So go add it a bit more. Anyway, now I'm going to add some gold. The pink's still wet, but I want the gold to bleed a bit. So it's a bit wet, a bit dry. The gold that I add in places bleeds, in places it doesn't bleed so much, but I'm kind of giving it a bit of a marbly effect. That's what I was going for. I don't know. Maybe it looks like that. Maybe it doesn't. If you think it doesn't, let me know in the comments what you think. If you think it does, tell me that I've nailed it, or say, what are you doing, Sarah? This definitely isn't a marbly effect. I'd love to know what you think. You've actually made it this far in the tutorial, so please leave a comment and let me know if this is a marble effect or it totally isn't. Anyhow, now I'm going in with the gel pen. I have let the watercolor dry in between, so you can see it's lightened off a bit. But all I do is go back in and I'm adding little leaves, just whatever leaves I'm comfortable with. I think I do 3 different styles of leaves. So it's like little branch with a few little leaves, a smaller skinny branch with little leaves, and then another little leafy branch with just two or 3 leaves in it. Anyway, whatever leaves work for you, go ahead and do those. You can see I've got a scrap piece of paper here, because even though the watercolor is dry, the gel pen being like super juicy is picking up some of the paint as I go back in and draw. So all I'm doing is kind of wiping off that bit of pink pigment that I'm picking up to not only get it off the pen and stop it mixing in, but to also make sure that the pen's coming out white when I'm drawing. You can see I go back in constantly and I'm just cleaning it. I've used a Archer and Olive gel pen here for this. I wanted quite a fine leafy effect. So I was trying to decide between, do I go with a thicker gel pen? Do I go with an acrylograph? In the end, I chose the Archer and Olive one. I think they're about a 0.5 or a 0.7 tip. I don't know exactly. I'll have to find out, and I will again put it down below once I've researched what the actual size is. Yeah. Anyway, you can see I've almost gone and added the leafy little details all the way around. I thought this was a fun thing to do because when I went to do this tutorial, fun little fact here, I'm just going to go off and on a tangent. I originally was going to do the leafy branches outside the heart. I spent a bit of time going back and forward, practicing both options, showed my husband, and he was like, oh, that looks too jaggedy. So we went with internal leafy branches. I think it looks quite cute. I also really like the effect of the white against the watercolour. And yeah, it was just really fun to do. Anyway, once I've finished all the branches, I go back in and I add some little dots to complete the border and kind of just fill it up nicely, and add a few little sparkles because who doesn't enjoy doing sparkles? But yes. And then we're done with the gel pen segment. Now I just go back in, add a quick little line and pencil in a little fun Valentine's saying, I guess that's the word. I don't know. I write be mine. Write whatever works for you guys. Yeah, and then I'll go back in with my fine liner and outline that. I think I've used a 0.5 Sakura of America Micron pen. Yes, I have. And yes, and that is it. That's how simple this is. I hope this was a helpful tutorial, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, comment, whatever you want. If you enjoyed it, share it or recreate it. Let me know if you do, because I'd love to hear how it goes. Thanks, guys. Until next time, bye.